Welcome to the On Call podcast.
Hi everybody, this is Dr. Arunav Roy and welcome to the On Call podcast. So the main reason behind starting this podcast series was obviously because I wanted to document life histories of doctors, right? I always felt like we as a community were quite disconnected from our previous generation doctors that came before us. For example, we know about the Dr. B.C. Roy Award, but we don't exactly know the life history surrounding Bidhan Chandra Roy or any other great doctor for that matter. Because that information was never really documented, right? It wasn't really accessible to us. Like what made Dr. B.C. Roy great? And all the stories we do know of are mainly spread through word of mouth. And I felt like with time, all these stories will go through a Chinese whispers phenomena, or they will be lost to time if they're not documented. So me being in this pre-counseling situation where I had the abundance of time, figured I wanted to address this problem and work towards it. And I love podcasts, so that's how the On Call podcast was created. So the podcast series mainly has two segments, right? The first segment is where I interview doctors from our previous generation, established doctors. And I talk about, where they're from, which school they went to, which colleges they went to, their life experiences, their life struggles, and how did they reach from where they were to where they are now? What was their blueprint for success? And I feel like within these episodes, there's a ton of information, both philosophical as well as practical information, which we as a generation of the new generation of doctors would really benefit from. Now, the second segment of the podcast series is where I interview doctors from my generation, upcoming doctors. And we talk about more current issues relevant to our medical community. And we talk about holistic development during MBBS, but more importantly, the interviewees, they talk about certain skill sets or certain talents that they have learned during their MBBS, certain niche talents that they've acquired during their MBBS that nobody guided them through. The point of doing this was to create some documentation as well as to create an access route for a certain XYZ medical student in any part of India now listening or watching these podcasts will have access to these talents in a better way than they did when they started out. So that's the entire, the motto behind doing these podcast series. It was really fun recording all of them. And I hope that you have a great time listening to these podcast series. Do let me know if you have any feedback. And I hope you have fun. Thank you.